Alright, not 100% sure where I left off last. I've been messing with the interior in the Camaro. Taking the dash out, putting the AC delete panel in, but I got the intake on. These fuel rails, I'm not good with these sizes. 8AN, 6AN. I tried to buy a 6AN to fit in there. I tried to find an 8. 8 was just a little too big, and the 6 was just a little too small. So I guess that's an MPT port. Either way, I've already ordered the fittings that would go into an 8, so I found some fuel rails. They're like 50 bucks, so I went ahead and bought those because these don't have the clamps to hold it down anyway. And by the time I bought all those, it wouldn't much be more just to buy the $50 ones. Besides the $50 ones I got, they got a 5/8 inch hole, which will support tons of horsepower. Okay, so I took this off the filler neck and I put this in there. I can just take this off and on just like I would the oil cap, and that's where my catch can's gonna go. I bought this crossover because my truck crossover wouldn't fit under the intake for some reason, and that'll go to the radiator. And then I put the valve covers on. Not sure if I went over that or not. Probably did. I bought these block offs. I don't know if it's safe to block those off on the coolant crossover on the back, but they make them, so I figured it'd be okay. Besides, this car only really gets raced anymore anyway. I bought a 3-prong oil sensor. There's your cam sensor. And then here's your knock sensors, wires. And then I bought a 3-bar map sensor. Now, the 3-bar map sensor, this one, and this is the one everybody said to get, it don't fit in the hole. So I had to drill the hole out, and then I opened the throttle body and I stuck a vacuum cleaner on there real tight and sucked all that out where I drilled it out. But the clip on this intake's broke. Plus the hole's bigger, so it offsets this, so that clip probably wouldn't even work anyway. So I zip tied the crap out of it. And it ain't going nowhere. And that O-ring fits the hole tight, so that's good. And I blocked all this stuff off because I've got manual brakes. I don't know where that one, I'd say that one goes to your heater. Just a guess, your heater venting. And this one goes to your brake booster, which I've got manual brakes, so we don't need that. And yeah, that's pretty much it, man. It can go in the car. I think I'm gonna go ahead and jack the car up. I got some friends coming over today. We're gonna have a cookout. See if we can't get this thing pushed over here. Now this one, this engine stand, it barely holds that motor. Look at it. See how crooked it is? That engine stand over there, that's my buddy Brandon's. That thing, yeah, I think it'll roll over the gravel with them big wheels. This one right here, it has a hard time rolling on the plyboard. So, oh, also, I bought this little delete thing. And I bought all AN fittings. I bought everything that it's going to need for 30 pounds of boost. Except for the factory fuel lines. I'm going to have to redo those. But, yeah, I'll just have to get plugs, new plug wires, radiator hoses, a belt, just some knick-knack stuff. But yeah, we might put that thing in today. All right, I got the car up in the air. I think that's high enough. It's as high as the cherry picker would go. Now, try to wheel that over here. We need it right there. And this thing don't roll that good. It don't roll that good at all. So, might have to have a few more people to help me with that. Well, my boards worked. I was able to bring it right over there. You know what? I used, I hope I didn't ruin those threads, because I used my old transmission bolts to hold that, and that's M10. It's not a standard like a small block Chevy. But anyway, let's put the flex plate on. So this is the flex plate I got. It's just eBay. I know the 4L80E one's a better choice. It's stronger, but this is the one that came on this motor, so that's what I'm sticking with. But because there's spacing that all goes into play with these on these motors, and I'm not going to get into that because there's a bunch of videos online about it. But so to use this with a turbo 400, turbo 350, or a Paraglide, and I could have used my old one because it had the turbo 350 holes in it. My converters only got bolts for a turbo 350, and my flex plate had those holes, but it was old. And this one's SFI rated, so it says. I don't see a sticker on it, and there ain't a sticker in the package. But the torque converter snout's got to go up inside here, and it don't. That's the main difference there. So plus, you know, the bolt holes, you gotta have the bolt holes, but you gotta have this piece to shim that out, and that's not going all the way up in there, so I'm gonna have to give it some love with a piece of wood and a hammer. It's got a little bit of rust in there. It needs to be fixed. But yeah, I'm gonna torque these down, and then I'm gonna tap this in with a piece of wood and go with it. Alright, it's on the K-member and all bolted down. Had a couple people come over for the cookout and help me line everything up. Now we're going to put the transmission on it. Alright, I got the transmission on there all bolted up. We went to push it back, and that supposedly 1,000-pound dolly from Harbor Freight snapped like a twig. So now I don't know what we're going to do. I guess we're going to have to hook to the car and pull it forward, hopefully. Alright, we got her lowered down, but what we had to do is we had to push the car forward. We put the cherry picker on it, raised it up, took the jack stands out. They pushed, I pulled on the cherry picker. We got it about where it needs to go, but it needs to come this way. So Peyton was pushing on this side by himself. We're going to need a couple people pushing while I lower it down, and hopefully that'll drop it in. Alright, so where our 1,000-pound dolly broke from Harbor Freight with just the motor and the K-member, that's not 1,000 pounds. There ain't no way. But anyway, it broke, so we had to maneuver the body around. Luckily, I had some people over for a cookout, and what we did was there's these two dowel pins right. It's right there. Nope, wait a minute. Yeah, it's right there. Back there in the back. There's these two. There's a dowel pin there, and there's a dowel pin on the other side, and there's a hole up inside here. If you get those dowel pins to line up and you drop it down, it'll line it. It'll line everything up all by itself. So what we had to do was we pushed the body over, see where they lined up at, and then we put our foot on the transmission and pushed the transmission this way or that way until we got those pins to line up. Been a lot easier if our K-member dolly didn't break. But we got them to line up. We had like 4 people. Like I said, luckily I had that cookout and there were some people over, but because I wouldn't have been able to do that by myself. But we got the line up, we dropped them down. I got the bolts. The bolts were kind of rusted. And that side, the driver's side, they didn't want to hardly come out. This side came out pretty good actually, but I wire wheeled all the bolts just to get all the rust off of them and dirt. And then I lubed them up with that assembly lube and they went right back in. Now I didn't torque these down. There's one there. There's one there. And there's one here. But I did put a breaker bar on them and got them pretty tight. I didn't go crazy with the breaker bar, but I went pretty tight. So now that's all tight. Now what I can do, and I might have to have a jack to do this, is I'll have to jack this up and stick it up in there. And then once the bolts get started, I can stick a bolt up in there. It's hard to do this by yourself too, because you got to hold this up in the hole while someone starts the bolts. But that's what we're going to do next. Also on this, on these motor mounts, This is the hooker motor mount, which basically just changes your K-member to an LS member. And this, on the motor side, the truck ones won't work. You got to get the Camaro Trans Am 98-02 brackets for this side. The GTO might be the same, I'm not sure, but they didn't line up just right, so I had to take these 3 bolts loose, then get it to line up, and then put the bolt in. And then once the motor went back down, the motor mount set flat, and then I just tightened these 3 bolts back up. But you can't do that on the other side because it's too hard to get the bolts. But yeah, all that's bolted up, and everything looks good. And we'll bring these strut tire bolts up and stick them in, tighten those up. And then we got to hook the front brake line up. I don't have the wire harness yet, so we can't wire everything up. Once I do that, I guess I can lift the car up, put the tires on it, put it back on the blocks, and get under there and put my shifter linkage and transmission cross member in, and then put the drive shaft back in. This is just the wire for the trans brake. I was thinking about running that through that hole that the AC bolted in back here, but I don't know how good I can get to it now. I can't even see where it's at now. Oh yeah, it's way down there in that big hole. Yeah, that might not work. So we'll probably go back through this computer hole. Alright, I got a jack under there. I mean, if you're strong enough, you can lift that by yourself. But then it's hard to look and line the holes up and then hold it while you put a bolt in it and everything like that. So we got the bolts lined up. And these you just put those on. I bought self-locking bolts for these, and I've got washers with them. I forgot to put them on. Now, these ones over here are a bolt that goes in there, and they're usually hex head. The stock ones are. I replace those just because they strip out too easy. But yeah, we're going to bolt this one up, go the other side, and do the same thing. All right, so my brake line nut got a little corroded, so I wire wheeled that off real good, put it back on there. Use some wire, or yeah, some of those wrenches, and I put a crescent wrench right here to hold it, and I tightened it up real good. Hopefully it don't leak, but we'll have to bleed the brakes later. So I left the dash out for the simple reason, well, I didn't put all the dash back in. That way I can take the steering wheel loose and drop it down, because if you take the steering wheel loose and drop it down, it makes it way easier to get this on. We're not going to worry about that right now. I'm going to go ahead and cover the motor up, just because once I get it up in the air, it's hard for my short fat butt to get up in here, and we're still waiting on a few parts. So we'll go ahead and cover it up real good, and then we're going to jack it up and get under the car and put the drive shaft and transmission cross member and the shifter cable in, the shifter linkage up. That's about all we can do for now. I mean, I guess I could put the radiator and stuff in, but I'm gonna wait on all that. But yeah, let's do that. I was just looking to see how the exhausts are going to clear. It looks like on this side they're going to clear pretty good. On that side right there is a little questionable, but we're running them truck exhausts, and we're going to run them forward for now. And I'll probably just come off of those and go straight underneath the front of the fender on both sides to run on motor and run on nitrous till we can save up for a turbo kit. So yeah, making progress. Alright, putting the cross member in. And it did move this bolt. So I mean, the cross member still works, but it's all the way up to the Ford. It used to be like right in the middle of that groove. But that's why they're grooved. That little bit, 1/4 inch, it ain't going to make a difference. So go ahead and bolt that up. Go ahead and tighten the other side. I already tightened this. I'm going to tighten the other side, tighten this, and then retighten it. I had to actually leave the out ones loose, just to, because if I tighten these up, it put everything in a bind right here. Or I would have had to jack the transmission up and down just to get it out of the bind and tighten it, lower jack. That wouldn't have been good. Alright, I'm going to go over and tighten that side, tighten this side, then tighten the bolt again, and that ought to do it for the cross member. Then we can put this in there, and this right here is our hot wire for our fuel pump. We'll run that back up through there better, zip tie that up and stuff. But yeah, moving right along. Alright, I snaked the drive shaft up through the drive shaft loop. I stuck it up in the transmission, and I pushed it up in there. Now, unfortunately, somehow the LS scooted the motor about a 1/2 inch forward. I don't know what that's all about, but there's still enough, quite a bit of meat up inside the transmission. So we should be fine there. I got spiders everywhere. Yeah, that washer. Trans mount didn't go up in there just right. Oh well, I have to fix that. Then I pushed it all the way forward, lifted it up into the rear end yoke, and I pushed it back and I put it in place. And the transmission is in neutral, and that's why we put the rear end up on jack stands so we can turn this. So I already put that U joint, or that U bolt in with the nuts, and now we'll turn it around with the tire here, hopefully. That's a tight one. Well, I might have two hands. We'll turn that around and get the other side to the bottom. I didn't tighten these yet. I just snugged them up, see? And it's a crack-a-lacking outside. It's going to start storming here in a minute. So hopefully we can finish getting this in and put the torque converter bolts in. Oh, there comes the rain. There it is. I don't know if y'all can hear it or not, but it is now officially raining. And it's thundering and stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and get these bolts tightened up, and then I'm going to try to get the torque converter bolts in. Alright, there we go, guys. Drive shaft's in. When you're tightening these U-bolts up, try to keep them as even as you can as you tighten them up. But yeah, that's all in. Now we can put the torque converter bolts in. Well, it started raining really, really hard on me, so I had to come inside. So as I was looking at this video, right here, when we looked at the side of the block for the motor mounts, it looks like there's cracks there. I hope that's just paint chip cracks. I don't know. I'm going to get under there tomorrow and scrape that off with a screwdriver and see if it's cracked all the way through. I mean, I just hope it don't leak water. If it is a crack, I hope it don't leak water. But it rained real hard on me. I did go in the garage and start on the fueling system, so that's going to be the next video is the fueling system. So y'all stick around, like and subscribe, and have a great day.